Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Sally Buemi, the third selectman here in North Haven, and welcome to Speaking Freely with Sally. The purpose of my show is to focus on nonprofit organizations and unique businesses here in town so that I can emphasize some of the great things that good people are doing here in North Haven to make our community a better place to live. Tonight, I am very thrilled, as a history buff, I am very thrilled to have with me Jane Iannone, the co-president of the North Haven Historical Society. Welcome, Jane.
Thank you, Sally. I'm really glad to be here.
Well, it's great to have you here. So you're co-president of the North Haven Historical Society. Tell us a little bit about that organization.
Well, we were founded informally in 1927 when a group of North Haveners decided that they should start preserving some of North Haven's history. And it was sort of informal at first, but in 1957, they formally incorporated under the laws of the state of Connecticut as a charitable organization.
Okay.
So our purpose is to collect and preserve documents, deeds, maps, photos, artifacts, etc., items that are related to North Haven's history.
Fantastic. Now, the Historical Society is located on Broadway.
Correct.
At 27 Broadway. That building, when I was a kid growing up in North Haven, was the library in town, and it was beautiful. A nice kind of federal style building. And of course the town outgrew it, and the new library, which is on Elm Street behind that, opened, and the Historical Society was able to move in to that building. And it's kind of like a museum as well as a place to go if you want to look at old documents or artifacts. Tell us a little bit about some of the different exhibits that you've had or standing exhibits that you have there over the years.
Well, our basement is the museum part of our Historical Society, and there we have permanent exhibits related to North Haven agriculture, to the printing industry, which was a part of the Clintonville section of North Haven, and brick making, farming, particularly dairy farming. And those are some of our major exhibits in the basement.
That are standing exhibits. Well,
Right.
certainly North Haven has a heavy farming background, as well as bricklayers with the Stiles Company. I think everybody in North Haven has a Stiles brick somewhere
I'm sure
in
of
their
it.
backyard. And in fact, the old library, your Historical Society building, was built with Stiles bricks, I'm sure.
Correct.
So what other, you also have some special exhibits from time to time. Can you tell the folks something about those exhibits?
Yes, last summer we had a really large exhibit about Heaton Field, which was the Little League baseball field behind our current building, which is where the North Haven Library now stands.
Right. Last week I did a show highlighting Heaton Field and Max Inouye. So that I saw that exhibit. It was fantastic.
Right.
What other?
And we've had other programs. Last fall we had a cemetery tour of the old burial ground, and we had a great response for that. Close to 100 people attended, and they toured the old burial ground on the North Haven Green, where docents were stationed at various graves, and they talked about people buried in those graves. It was
Right.
very, very popular.
I'm sorry I missed that. I grew up on St. John, and as a kid, I was on the green all the time, and used to go through there. And it's fascinating the names that you see. You'll see Pierpont and Blakesley, Thorpe and Todd. A lot of our streets are named after the people there. The real early settlers here in North Haven, and it's really quite the snapshot of our early history if you go through that cemetery. So that must have been a great event.
It was a beautiful fall day, and
Yeah,
it was gorgeous
nice.
there. Yes,
And you
yes.
mentioned you might do that again for those history buffs out there that missed it. They might.
Well, we're talking about possibly doing another cemetery tour, different with about different people, sometime in late September.
Okay.
So we'll be advertising that when the time comes.
Yes, in the local paper. So keep an eye out for the next tour that the Historical Society might be running. Any other exhibits last year?
Well, last December, we had a gentleman who came in and he portrayed Charles Dickens and he read A Christmas Carol to the audience. This was held in the community room of the old library. And then we had a coffee hour and refreshments at the Historical Society where we have an exhibit, which we still have today, set up about Victorian times, featuring some Victorian clothing, books, and artifacts from that era.
Some furniture, maybe?
Well, we don't really have room much
Room
for furniture.
But just basic. So
Yes.
if anybody out there is a history buff or especially interested in the Victorian era, you could still go there now.
Correct.
And look at,
It will be up for,
a bit
about
more.
another month or so.
and when can people go to the building on Broadway there to look at these exhibits?
We are open on Tuesday and Thursday afternoons from 1 to 4. And you don't have to make an appointment. You could just come in. It's free. We don't charge admission. And anyone is welcome. We have North Haveners come in, and we have people from out of town who stop by to view our exhibits.
Well, that's fantastic. Are there any special big events planned in the near future?
Yes. On June 14th, we are going to be open from 10:30 to 1:30.
That's a Saturday.
That's a Saturday, correct. And that is Connecticut Open House Day, where museums across the state are encouraged to be open for people to come in and view exhibits. And at the same time, the North Haven Library, which is right in back of us, is having their kickoff event for their summer reading program. And we are going to have a table there featuring books that were written by Grace Gardner, who was a North Haven resident and teacher at Ridge Road School. And children who visit our table will be able to participate in an activity from one of her activity books that she wrote. And we will have, our museums will be open and people can come and visit us at the same time. And there will be light refreshments at that time.
It sounds like a great event, and it's great that you're collaborating with the library. And I love the fact that you're woven in there is the reading program, and also a little bit of history with
Correct.
the books by the teacher from Ridge Road School. That sounds like a great event. So at the end of the show, we will have some slides up that you will see some information highlighting some of these events. So I hope that these are of interest to you and that you'll participate. It sounds like a great day. Any other events coming up?
Yes, also this summer, on Saturday, July 12th, we're going to have a song fest, and it's going to be held at the Masonic Hall, which is at 30 Church Street at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. We have Richard Donahue, who is a Connecticut musician, is going to be singing patriotic songs. And this program is in preparation for the big events which will be happening next year for the 250th anniversary of our independence.
That's right. Wow. I remember 1976 so well. That was a big deal. They had these bicentennial minutes on TV. And we were bombarded, fortunately, with all of these reminders of that great celebration. So I think that is a great kickoff. I like the way the Historical Society blends in a lot of different arts into their presentations. Here you have singing, you have reading, you have your artifacts, you have plenty of books and maps and all sorts of other sources. So you really offer a wide range of methods of study for anyone who's interested in learning about North Haven. And these events just help to to put it into a reality that you can participate in. So I hope that, again, you'll watch the screen at the end of the show and come to the Song Fest on the 12th. Yep. There was one other thing I wanted to talk about, which is the Martha Culver Library and Museum on Quinnipiac Avenue. So can you tell us a little bit about that building?
Yes, we at the Martha Culver House, we house a collection of artifacts and also the Brockett Tool Collection. The home is currently closed for renovations. The town did receive recently a HUD grant, and we are currently working with an architect on plans and a design for the Martha Culver House. And we will, when the renovations are completed, it will include a community room for use by the townspeople of North Haven.
That sounds great. And
so we're looking forward to reopening it. We're not sure when yet.
Right.
Construction has not started.
Okay. It's still in the planning stages. Well, I'll be very excited to see the renovations and what surprises that your organization will come up with there. I have been in Martha Culver many times over the years, and there's a lot of great like personal items, quilts from 150 years ago, and you could really get a sense of what life was like in North Haven when you go to Martha Culver. She, I think, was born in mid-19th century. And lived into the early 20th century, and she deeded that property to the town. In fact, I believe all of the land that the Maxinaway Little League baseball fields are on, which is behind my office, all of those fields are on property that belonged to Martha. So, I know that Maxinaway League just started, so when you're at that game, you might want to give a little thank you to Martha Culver and her generous ways, because she donated not just the building, but many acres behind there.
And the acreage where the Monterey's firehouse
The firehouse,
is also.
exactly, exactly. So that was quite a gift of prime real estate that she gave to our town that is used by thousands of people throughout the year. So if anyone wants to join the North Haven Historical Society, they could do that, right?
Correct. Our membership year runs from July 1st to June 30th, the same as the town calendar year.
Right.
But you can join at any time. If you join now, you get a few extra months bonus to your membership. Membership is $15 for an individual, $25 for a family per year. But we also have life membership available.
Well, those are reasonable. So if you are interested in history and North Haven history, I would urge you to consider joining the North Haven Historical Society. I think that you will really enjoy it. I always love when I go into that building. It's really been, you always have different things highlighted, and it's great. I also wanted to talk about the Mayflower Society, which is affiliated with the North Haven Historical Society.
Correct.
So can you tell the folks listening about the Mayflower Society?
Okay, the Mayflower Society was organized in 1895 by Sheldon Thorpe, who was an unofficial historian for North Haven, and Dr. Robert Goodyear and Edward Lindsley, who were also two prominent North Haveners at the time. And the purpose was to commemorate the landing of the Pilgrims in Plymouth in December of 1620, and hence the name the Mayflower Society. So those first invited to participate in this event did not have to be descendants from the Pilgrims. And that is still true today, more than 100 years later in the organization. It was a social event to honor the forefathers of our nation, to foster patriotic themes, and to reaffirm the ideals of democracy as set forth in the Mayflower Compact.
Right.
So the first celebration was held upstairs in Memorial Hall, which is our town hall.
Right.
And on December 20th, 1895, which was the 275th anniversary of the landing of the Pilgrims, 120 people were invited to participate, which represented the number of pilgrims who came over on the Mayflower and her sister ship, the Speedwell. Everyone invited had to bring their own dinner, their own dinnerware, their own serving dishes, their own silverware and linens. But coffee, cream, and sugar were provided.
Okay.
And following the dinner, there were speeches and musical entertainment focusing on a patriotic theme. And we actually have the original invitation at the Historical Society in our archives.
To the dinner,
yes.
1895.
Right.
So you mentioned it was in Memorial Hall, which is our town hall right there on Church Street. It must have been very new because
yes,
brand
it was
new because
brand
that
new.
was built in 1886 to
Correct.
commemorate the 100th anniversary of the founding of North Haven, which was in 1786.
Yes, there was a upstairs. It was upstairs in the hall. Correct.
Right, where we have our Board of Selectmen meetings. You mentioned Solomon Lindsley. Was
Edward Lindsley.
Edward Lindsley. Well, I'm sure Solomon was related to him
Somehow.
because he was a very famous architect.
Correct.
Here in North Haven, and there are still many of his buildings throughout the town.
There are.
And you could always identify one of his houses, like the one at that unique intersection of Layden and Poole and Maple Avenue.
Correct.
And you could recognize the house by looking at the peak. It has these heart-shaped designs in it. So,
and
if
it's
you're-
interesting that you mentioned that house because that was his house,
right,
his own personal house.
right,
But if you drive up Maple Avenue or Broadway, you would see, or Quinnipiac Avenue, you would see a lot of his homes.
Yeah, and
were
with that
very
design, yeah.
recognizable Victorian homes.
exactly. All Victorian. They're fabulous houses. When I was a kid, we called that house at that intersection the Pearsall House.
Correct. Barbara Pearsall
She
lived
was
there.
a teacher,
Correct.
a home ec teacher in North Haven. But we always called it, even though I might not have been aware at that time, I was a little kid, of who Solomon Lindsley was, so we called it the Pearsall House.
Right.
There's a lot of history if you take the time to look and you know what you're looking for. So that must have been brand new, the Memorial Hall
Yes.
at this first Founders Celebration dinner. And of course, it's kept going every year.
Correct. Yes. So this year, we are continuing the tradition of this organization by holding a Founders Day celebration on Sunday, May 18th at 4 o'clock for a social hour followed by the traditional turkey dinner and all the trimmings at the bistro at the Wallingford Country Club on Long Hill Road in Wallingford. So anyone interested in celebrating North Haven history is invited to attend. And again, you do not need to be a descendant of the Mayflower to participate.
Right.
The cost is $55 per person, which includes the dinner and dues of the society.
Now,
And this is our only event of the year.
For the
this
Mayflower
Yeah,
Society.
of this organization, correct.
Right. I've been to many of them, and it's a fabulous dinner. And I'm glad that you moved it to the spring, because when I first started attending them, they were in the middle of January, and there was always that concern about the weather, and it was dark. So I like the fact that your organization changed it to a mid-May date, so you don't have to worry about the weather. Now, today, the day we're taping this show, is May 7th. So there is still time to reserve a ticket until May 14th.
Correct.
And again, we will have a slide at the end of the show that'll tell you how you can get a ticket, or you could just call the Historical Society.
Correct. Yes. Right.
So it's a really great event. It's a great dinner. There's always a raffle, which is really fun. This year you are the Toastmaster,
I am.
and quite a thrill. And next year I will be
You
the
will be.
Toastmaster, and I am honored for that, because if you read the list of the Toastmasters, it is just history right there. The names are very familiar. Again, Brockett's and Blakesleys and great families, and then even a lot of political figures and other people that have done so much for our community have been honored with the Toastmaster. Now, you also have speakers
Correct.
at this event.
Yes.
So
So,
tell us about that.
Well, the festivities are traditional, and it will always include a reading of the Mayflower Compact, patriotic songs, a roll call of the attendees. We honor and remember members of the society who have passed away during this past year. We have the raffle, which you mentioned, that supports the North Haven Historical Society. There's a short business meeting, which includes a report from the Historical Society. And we always have some type of a historical presentation. This year, John Proto, who is the executive director of the Shoreline Trolley Museum, will be speaking to us about trolleys to North Haven. He has some excellent photos that he is going to share with us about the trolleys that came from New Haven up through North Haven, all the way up to Wallingford, where the trolley line ended.
There must have been a stop in
There is.
in the center.
There was.
By the green.
It's right on the green.
Yeah.
And if you look at today's Advisor, there is a photo of that trolley stop printed in the Advisor this week.
Well, I highly recommend that you consider going to the Mayflower Society dinner coming up on May 18th. It's a really great event, and it makes it really brings the North Haven community together, just to honor the traditions of North Haven and the history of North Haven. There's been so many great presentations over the years. I've learned so much about North Haven. I thought I knew a lot about North Haven. I found out I didn't. I learned so much from these, from the various speakers that you've had, and that's always one of my favorite parts of the dinner, besides just seeing old friends and
socializing,
enjoying a nice traditional, what I'd call Thanksgiving dinner. So we're almost out of time. Once again, the North Haven Historical Society is located at 27 Broadway here in North Haven. So come by sometime and enjoy the exhibits and talk to. There's always folks there on Tuesday and Thursday,
and we're more than willing to help you.
Yep. And I'm sure lots of people that are doing some sort of study might utilize the assets that you have there and the documents to help them with their study, if they're studying something in particular about North Haven or early America in general. I'm sure that you've had people there.
We have, yes,
that are studying, and it's a great a place to really learn a lot of things that you really never knew about North Haven. And there's always someone there who's willing to talk to you.
Oh, yes. And we have a marvelous archive room that has all of these documents and tons of maps of old North Haven, photos. We were so fortunate that early North Haveners collected and saved what they did and then passed them on to the Historical Society.
Well, we're just about out of time, Jane. So I want to thank you for coming here and teaching all of us about the North Haven Historical Society and all of the events that are coming up. So thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me.
I appreciate it, and thank you for watching at home. And stay tuned for the next Speaking Freely with Sally. And watch the monitor for a lot of information about the events that we've talked about. Thanks and good night.